Can you hear those children next door? There's a children's
Just
school.
slightly, yeah.
I mean, that's a sound you probably haven't heard for
No, not for many years, eh?
33 years. How does that sound to you?
Nice, eh? There's a few things we've got to get used to now that I'm out. And it's going to be a bit complex, but I don't think it's anything I can't cope with. Of course, it'd be very interesting. I think everything out is beautiful myself. It's just a matter of getting used to it.
On March the 8th, 1969, Britain's two most notorious gangsters, the Kray twins, were sentenced to life imprisonment for murder, with a recommendation that they serve not less than 30 years. Reggie Kray was released from prison in August 2000 on compassionate grounds, suffering from terminal cancer. From hospital, he gave his first interview, during which he discussed various aspects of his life. Reggie died shortly afterwards.
It was a very happy childhood. We used to go to a school called Wood Close, which was just opposite where we lived in Valence Road. There's a little schoolyard where the kids used to play. And when we used to leave there, we used to race home. It wasn't very far, a couple of 100 yards, and we was back in Valence Road. And my mother was a really very warm person. She would never run anyone down, and she's just all giving all the time.
Violet, their mother, was immensely respectable. I mean, I knew her really quite well. She was a sort of Cockney Queen mother. And, you know, her boys were her bunny rabbits, and she never, you know, their boys would never do anything. And she genuinely believed it.
They idolised the mother. Not so much the old man. No, they used to have their rows with the old man because he didn't like what they was doing. You know, no one likes their children to be like they was.
And my father worked at Old Clothes Barn, so we would see him pretty often. The way it was in East End, sons would bestow more affection or love on the mother than they did the father because it was the East End's way. When I was a kid, we all looked up to different people. They might have been a footballer or a fighter, most certainly a fighter, a boxer, or a villain who fought in the street. Tony Muller was one. He was heavyweight fighter and he was heavyweight villain. And then there's Tommy Smithson. He used to fight in the Merchant Sea as a sailor. Lots of fighters from the area, you know.
The old grandfather was a hero for them. It was called Cannonball Lee, the Southpaw Cannonball. He used to be an old boxer who then did musical turns.
Well, it was like a normal thing, an old bare-knuckle fighter them days. My grandfather was a bare-knuckle fighter. Twins idolised him. It was honest money, hard money. And I think that was the reason why everyone in the East End wanted to box.
We started off by going to a boxing fair that was in Bethnal Green Road. And we went to this fairground and it was so exciting. But he couldn't forget about boxing afterwards. He just got carried away with it.
The twins' elder brother, Charlie, had been a boxing champion whilst serving in the Royal Navy and was keen to encourage Ron and Reg.
In my mother's house, I arranged a small gym and punch bag, etc. And I trained them at home for 1 year. And then after the year was over, I thought, well, now it's time to take them to a boxing club, which I did.
There was a fantastic amount of kids in the area who got great pleasure going into the Krays gym, which was a room, a bedroom. They would put up a punch bag and a ball, and Charlie taught them how to box.
Went to a club in South London, Robert Browning Club. We started training over there. We won South East Divisional Championships.
On December the 11th, 1951, all three Kray brothers fought on the same bill at the Royal Albert Hall. Charlie and Ronnie lost. Reg won.
I had 55 amateur fights, 150. I had 7 professional, 7.
I think he would have been British champion quite easily, quite easily. Ronnie was beaten several times because he never had the temperament, he never had the up here for it.
And then when I stopped boxing, I started getting my left hook together more. And it played a great part in my street fights.
After they were 16, 17, Charlie was saying to me one day, can't you do something about our twins? I said, Charlie, nobody can do anything about your twins. You know, you've got to realise your twins are quite powerful in their own way. And no, I couldn't do anything about them. They won't listen to anybody.
I met them many Saturday mornings. They were always getting themselves nicked on Friday night and appearing in court on Saturday morning. They were the sort of thing that wouldn't go further than the magistrate's court. Things like being a suspected person, the old sus laws, and they were charged again and again with that type of crime, or trying car door handles, you know, really soppy things.
In March 1950, the twins found themselves in serious trouble. A teenage gang fight left one youth with serious injuries.
Well, they got charged. They was at the Old Bailey, I think it was. No, it was a big, because they was young at the time. It was the first serious offence. It happened in Club Road. And they had bicycle chains and they chained him on the floor and that. He was on the danger list.
On this occasion, the twins were acquitted, but it was not long before they found themselves in trouble again.
Oh, we got done for assault on the police. 16. GBH it was, really. GBH.
You and Ronnie together?
Yeah, we was on the corner of Mansell Street, and all the kids then used to knock about on the street corners. But this particular night, a copper by the name of Baden came along and punched me on the back of the neck about asking him to move on. She'd asked him to move on. So Ron punched him on the back of the neck and he ran over, and he got kicked in the face, whatever. And because it was arrested a bit later on that day with assault on the police. And that was our first one. Then a little while later we got another assault on the police. Got a month in the scrubs.
A lot of people have got the impression that Clubland, London, is very tough. Do you think it is? You run a couple of clubs.
Well, in all clubs you get an occasional drunk, you know, and sometimes they have to be slung out, and that's why there's doormen and that, but I suppose it's like Clubland all over the world, really. It's just the same as... I don't suppose it can be that bad, as people won't go to them, really, would they?
Ronald, what do you think about Clubland in London?
Well, I think most clubs are very respectable, you know, and I don't think there's any trouble at all in them, except occasionally.
I came back to the club and there was Buller Ward, who was one of our customers. All of a sudden, Reggie's having words with him in the corner of the club. The next thing you know, Reggie gives him a punch.
When he threw me these punches, I said to him, if that's the hardest you can hit, you'll have to do a lot better than that.
With that, he's pulled out a blade and cut him right across the face.
You had to have about 30 stitches, 36 stitches, something like 32 stitches, I'm not quite sure.
Didn't it ever cross your mind, Tony, that you could stop this by calling the police?
Well, by the time you'd have called the police and they'd have got in, the craze would have gone. And apart from that, there would have been repercussions afterwards. They could always come back here, whereas you could never find, the police could never find them. They seem to be above the law.
Reggie was more businesslike, a bit more sensible, violent. Don't worry about that. He was a violent, vicious man, but it was more directed. There was more reason behind his violence. Well, Ronnie done it for fun.
Went to Esmeralda's Barn in Knightsbridge. When I walked into a kitchen. And Ronnie was standing opposite me as I walked in. And when he turned, that's when I see these, I called them pokers, but they were cold steels where they sharpened knives on. You know, he had them on the gas. And I thought to myself, hey, he's trying to fight me, like, you know what I mean? Anyway, he come over with a poker. And he started burning my hair off. You know, I had thick curly hair then. And he come up to me and he just went like that. And then he put it across there. And then he took that poker back, and he went back and got another one off, and he held it across my eyes there. And I shut my eyes then. So he said, open your fucking eyes, he said to me. I thought, so blimey. He said, now I'm going to burn your fucking eyes out. Now all this is melted now. And someone at the back, they just shouted out, no, Ron, not that. And he just, like that, switched off. He walked away. He said, right, you can go now, as if nothing had happened.
You had to be on your guard with Ronnie, like 99% of the time, you know? Because, as you say, he was never the same, you know, one day to the next.
Ronnie gave me a gun in a club in the West End. He wanted Connie to be shot. He said, don't shoot him to kill him, shoot him in the legs. Connie was in the toilet then. And I went in there, and I said, Ronnie wants you shot. There's the gun. Got out of the toilet quick, and that was it. I went back and I says, he's gone out. But there was many a time that Ronnie and Reggie spoke about knocking Connie off.
Ronnie was getting too violent, and all Ronnie wanted to do is hurt everybody, you know. Couldn't be happy to get up and have a night out or a day out without someone's got to get hurt somewhere through some ludicrous thing, you know.
I walked up to the bar and stood there, said hello to a few people who I recognised, bought a drink, and I noticed people drifting away from me, left and right, and I knew something was going on. I turned around and Reggie's trying to cop an automatic pistol, if you don't mind. The next thing I know, bang, I'm shot in the leg.
It's very difficult to apologise in some cases, but not in others. But I suppose if I've been a bit too violent over the years, I'll make some apology about it, but there's little I can do about it now. So again, it's no good reflecting back. It's pointless, negative.
I think Frances had a raw deal. She'd have been better off not to even got with Reggie in the beginning, because you can't take a person from normal environment and put her into an environment like that. Before they even got engaged or anything, I was on a boat with him, going to France, and he'd bought her a lovely necklace. And they had a row. And invariably their rows was only over the family and the way that they treated Frances. And she had a good reason to. You know, they didn't treat her nice at all. And what happened was she ripped the necklace off and threw it overboard. Frances wanted a different life. She didn't want to be out all night long in clubs and things like that. You know, she didn't want that.
Lewis Chester, a colleague of mine, and I went to the wedding of Reggie Kray and Frances Shea. Reggie entered with his bride, and a hymn was struck up by the organist, which the congregation didn't know. I could see Ronnie Kray, who was best man, becoming very fidgety in his pew, and he kept turning round with an irascible look in his face. The organist played on, and Ronnie finally got up and strode down the aisle, and he said in the loudest stage whisper, "Sing, fuck you, sing."
They wasn't left alone to be husband and wife. He couldn't stay another night like an ordinary person could. It'd be a phone call and he'd have to go to this pub or that club, and, you know, or Ronnie had want him, and it was like really having a if you're married into a big family, having a family interfering in your marriage. And that's what it was like with him and Ron, you know?
The hostility was there continuous, because Ronnie used to really go to town with her, you know.
Frances was a very beautiful and nice looking girl. But unfortunately, in early age, about 21, she started getting some mental problems, and it led to suicide.
Reggie told me he didn't know how to touch a woman. to excite her. Didn't want to hurt her. So he said, didn't want to hurt her, didn't know how to touch her. It's a shame, you know.
Frances' mother revealed that her daughter's marriage to Reggie Kray had never been consummated. The marriage quickly fell apart.
When she broke up from him, I had to drive Reggie round to that house 4 or 5 times a week, and he used to throw little stones up at the window. She wouldn't come to the window a few times, but then once or twice she would come, and we'd just go away and leave me alone. She just didn't want it on.
I got 5 in nursing home in Kennington. I've done everything I could. 2 luxury flats. It just wasn't meant to be. I had the cars, I had no financial problems, but it just wasn't going to work out.
Massive show funeral. Buried her in a wedding dress. Open coffin. My main job on that day was to make a note of everybody who we knew who hadn't sent flowers, which I thought was pretty sick myself. There you go.
When Frances died, Reggie lived in our house for about 9 months, you know. And like we tried to help him through his, his bereavement, you know. I think he was so much in love with her, it just, it really broke his heart, when she died.
Reggie thought so much of Frances, his life ended. That's the way he looked at it. So I'll be so happy his own mouth.
She had attempted it on a previous occasion or 2, but of course you'd never get over the shock of someone committing suicide.
For some time, the Krays had been competing with a rival firm from South London, the Richardsons. An all-out gang war was imminent.
Ronnie always wanted to shoot somebody who was in the firm from across the water. He hated the Richardsons, absolutely hated them. He always thought that the Richardsons would come along with the guns and there'd been a right shootout.
We'd all been paired off, given a name, an address, where they drank, girlfriend's house, wife's house, all that information. And we were just waiting for the off.
The call to arms never came. The Richardson gang were involved in a shootout at Mr. Smith's club in South London. Almost the entire Richardson firm were immediately arrested. George Cornell was one member of the Richardson gang not present at the shooting. But Cornell made the fatal mistake of drinking on the Krays' East End patch the following night. Ronnie Kray went to the pub with Ian Barry and Scots Jack Dixon and shot Cornell dead.
He says, drive me up to the Blind Beggars. As we're going up there, he sticks a gun in Ian Barry's hand and says, here, put that in your pocket. And he tells me where to pull up. He goes in, he couldn't have been in there any more than about 3-4 minutes. The guns went off. Ian didn't know what to do. He took the gun out and he shot at the ceiling. I could never understand why he went down for murder. Ronnie gets into the car, we all laugh on his head off. I've done it, I've done it. I've actually shot him. I've shot that bastard Cornell.
Well, I was just told wrong not to be in such a hurry, but he wasn't in a hurry, and he's back in 10 minutes later, and that was it, and been done.
Why was he in such a hurry, Reg?
Because he'd made up his mind. Once he made up his mind, nothing would change his mind up his mind.
Cornell, there's no point in shooting the forward backer. No point at all. The war, supposed war with the Richardsons was over because the Richardsons were all in the nick by then, so there's no point in going and shooting him in the Blind Beggar. But it was necessary for the cult.
Everybody and his friend knew Ronnie Kray shot Cornell. He didn't hide it. The authorities knew. They couldn't find anybody to pin it on because lack of witnesses.
The Krays felt invincible. To enhance their reputation, they hatched an audacious plan to spring one of England's most dangerous criminals from Dartmoor prison, Frank Mitchell. The authorities launched a massive search. The Krays arranged for Mitchell to hide out in a flat tended by Scots Jack Dixon.
He was already in the flat when I went in. I put my hand out as if he was a long-lost friend, because we'd already heard so much about Frank. He was a giant of a fella, a bit simple in his ways. I dare say that you couldn't pick a fight with a man like him.
I don't know why the twins thought they could control him when all the authorities, psychiatrists, mental institutions, Rampton, Broadmoor, they'd all failed. That they, for some reason, thought they could control him. But they couldn't. And he started getting a bit edgy, and he said if the twins didn't come and see him, he'd go and see them. He knew where they lived because they'd been writing to him when he was away, and they took this as a threat. And this plot was hatched to get rid of him.
They had their reputation to live up to, and if they offered him up to the police and got him arrested, sent back to prison, how would that look and how would that stand? So Ronnie being Ronnie, he wanted him to disappear off the face of the earth. I could perform these sort of tasks without any problems, and I said, well, this is the last one. I said, you know, I'm not getting involved in any more after this, you know. This is it. I said, do this one favour for me, you know. And it was Christmas, building up to Christmas week, and I've got a business to run, I've got kids, I've got the boozer to look after, and all the things that were going on at the time, bits of aggro indoors. I mean, you get all this, and this is on top of it all, you know. It's the last thing I wanted, I needed to do, or be asked to do. I was very reluctant, really, but I give me word. I said I'd do it, I'd take care of it. 11 days after Mitchell's escape from Dartmoor, the twins arranged for Freddie Foreman and another gunman, Alfie Gerard, to kill Frank Mitchell. Foreman, with the help of a trawlerman, disposed of the body at sea. Ronnie's thirst for murder was out of control. Reggie found it difficult to resist Ron's violent demands. A local villain, Jack the Hat McVitie, had upset the twins and was unfortunate enough to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I didn't like the fellow McVitie. I wanted to get rid of him. Oh, he did everything wrong. He's very uncouth. He's very uncouth. He's loud and aggressive, which I find is a vexation to the spirit. And he was just saying that was stood for everything I despised.
Whenever I see the film Mean Streets with De Niro playing the part of the guy with a hat who causes all this mayhem, that's Jack the Hat, that character. When I look at it, you know, it's completely untrustworthy.
He didn't care tuppence about him, Jack. He wasn't frightened of them. No. And this is where he was an embarrassment to them. The Crays tried to put him down, like, oh, he's nothing, like he's a drunk and a tuppeny halfpenny thief. And he was a bloody good thief.
We was in the Carpenter's Arms, a pub there then, at the time in the East End. And there was no sign of any agitation, no problem. There was Ronnie, Reggie, we was all there. Even their parents were there. So there was no thing, and we left with two other men, me and my brother. And by chance, we happened to go to the Regency.
Who should turn up? Jack the Hat. Let's have a drink and all the rest of it. No, we're all right, Jack. And so there's loads of people.
I get a phone call from my doorman saying Reggie's in the foyer, could I go and see him? He's got Ronnie Hart and Ronnie Bender with him. So he said, Jack's downstairs. He said, I'm going to kill him.
So the next day I'm called upstairs into the office by Tony Barry, and there was Reggie and Ronnie Hart. He just says, who wants to see Jack? Is he down? I went, yeah. I'll bring him to a party. But at no time did I know it was going to happen.
Tony Lumbriana's gone back to look after Jack the Hat. Reggie's pulled a gun out in the office and said, look after that. He's give me the gun. As he did that, Ronnie Hart's pulled out a great big dagger, like a great big kitchen knife. I said, yeah, hold that as well. So I put them in the office drawer. About 15 minutes later, Hart's come back. He asked me for the knife then. I gave him the knife. Said, Reggie wants you to take the gun round to Blonde Carroll's. So I said, well, if you don't take it round there, Reggie's going to come back and he's going to shoot Jack in your club. well, we knocked on Blonde Carroll's door, go down the basement, I handed Reggie the gun, I've gone back to the club, Jack goes round to the party, and that was the last we saw of Jack. But the terrible thing about it is that it's really Tony Lambrianou who's the Judas in this whole saga. Without him, Jack would probably still be alive.
I would never put myself in that position again. It was wrong what happened to Jack the Hat. I'm going to say that. It wasn't very nice. He didn't deserve that. You know, if they had that argument with him, don't involve no one else.
We go along to Blonde Carroll's, thinking there's going to be this party, going to have a bit of a time there and get onto the West End. We go down the steps, go into the room, Jack runs in, where's the party?
I see Ronnie standing there, and these two fellas dancing. And all Ronnie did was bars past me, hit him with a little glass. Along there, he went, now, fuck off you, I've had enough of you.
Bit of an argument starts between Reggie and Jack. Reggie pulls a gun out. I think he's going to frighten him, you understand? Goes click, nothing works.
That was the first time I seen a gun. That was the time I seen nothing. And it didn't seem to me that they knew what they were doing.
I thought I was being pushed into it too quick. Because to me, it's common sense to wait a bit longer. I don't say you can prolong a thing like that forever. I see it was getting a bit close, but so it's still debatable, but so I had a lot of frustration in me and anger. Probably more anger that night than the other night in my life.
I can't handle it. I walk out of the room and Connie White comes to me, I'm really upset. I'm torn between frustration, anger.
Well, they said that Ronnie was urging on doing Convict. It was not Ronnie Quay. I had no need to protect Ronnie Quay from anything. It was Ronnie Hart who held him. And he had him right in the, behind, he had his arms pinned back and was urging Reggie to do it.
I can't go to Jack's rescue. If you want to know what I really felt, I felt a coward. It's hard.
I never seen a knife. I don't know where the knife come from. It was over before it happened.
It was an act of anger, rage, and frustration, because I really did want to hold it up a bit and do it a bit more neater than I did, but I never got around to it. So the night was destroyed from early on, really. Should have been done different, but it wasn't.
What had happened between him leaving that pub and meeting him at the Regency, something happened in that short period of time, within an hour.
I had a bit of an argument with Ron, didn't I? I had conflict with Ron that night. And it spurred me on, you know.
He stood there, and the words he says to me, fucking get rid of that fire under the train, that was it.
McVitie was stabbed to death. The Lambrianou brothers, along with Ronnie Bender, cleaned up after the murder. Again, Freddie Foreman was asked to dispose of the body. Reggie had committed a very public murder.
The guy was at the edge of a nervous breakdown. His wife had just killed herself. He was drunk, he was drugged, he was dominated by his homicidal old twin. These were all the things that it was about.
On the morning of May 9th, 1968, the Cray twins and other members of the firm were arrested by Nipper Read and his team and charged with the murders of George Cornell, Frank Mitchell, and Jack the Hat McVitie. The trial of the Old Bailey was presided over by Justice Melford Stevenson and became one of the longest and most expensive criminal trials in English legal history.
When I started the investigation, I'd become a superintendent and posted to the murder squad. I'd made it. And then I went in to see the assistant commissioner, and he said to me, congratulations. Now, Mr. Read, he said, I want you to do the Crays.
I do know that I'm told anyway, and I'm pretty sure it's correct, that there's orders from the very top people to lock us away. And make sure we were locked away.
I think we thought the best evidence probably was Cornell. If we won that, and then went on to McVitie, the publicity that was associated with the first trial was such that it could be said we couldn't get a fair trial on the second one. And that was the arrangement that we said, well, we'll join the two murders and we'll leave Mitchell out, and then we'll have a separate trial for Mitchell. And that's what we did.
Well, I think it's all meant to intermingle. That was the idea of it. So it would overlap, each trial would overlap another one. Each case would overlap and throw some badness off.
Did your counsel ever suggest that you should have had separate trials?
There was some mention of it, but not enough.
It was quite obvious they should have been tried separately. And not only did I move the court, move Milford. They should try them separately, but I got him to stop the trial so that I could take the case to the Court of Appeal. They likewise refused. Backroom talk with the Court of Appeal judges, clerks. The government behind this, and the Court of Appeal weren't going to interfere.
There were 10 men in the dock. Only 2, Ronnie Kray and Ian Barry, were on trial for the murder of George Cornell. The remaining 8 men sat in front of the jury, awaiting their trial for the murder of Jack McVitie.
Well, the judge turned around, Milford Stevenson, and he says, well, you must ignore the people sitting in the dock on the McVitie murder, because they certainly didn't have anything to do with the Cornell murder. Likewise, with the Cornell murder, you must have nothing to do with the McVitie murder, because it's the only connection is Ronnie Kray.
Well, it's one of the great trials of the 20th century. One of the great criminal trials. It was a great show trial. It was a mafia trial, and they conducted like a mafia trial right from the very beginning. When the police convoy brought them into the Old Bailey.
And there's a lot of politics going on behind the scenes which we didn't know about. Like media coverage, which was, it wasn't of our making.
Every single night, the television had come on, the news, we'd be on the news. Every single night. Now, that, I mean, it was a trial by publicity.
Today, many judges would have reported newspapers and television for contempt. The Krays, in my view, were killed by publicity.
Of course it tainted the jury. I mean, all the whole circus must have tainted them.
Justice Milford Stevenson was legendary for imposing long sentences with terse and often corrosive remarks. He had acquired a reputation as Britain's toughest judge, terrifying defendants and barristers alike.
I've been doing criminal law for nearly 40 years, and I have never come across any case where any judge has behaved in that manner.
Oh yes, he tried to undermine our points and to underscore the points made for the prosecution. There's no doubt of that, but that's within the scope of a wayward judge anyway.
If any good point was being said by defense witness, the judge would turn to the jury and literally smirk and turn his eyebrows up.
Ronnie was in the box. Milford said to him, Mr. Kray, I think you've only said 2 things in the whole of your evidence. The first is the prosecutor's a big fat slob, and the next, that I'm prejudiced against you, because I certainly am.
You know, Ron had murdered Cornell, no question, and Reg almost certainly killed McVitie. Yes, he did. But it was a muddle, and it was a mess, and a lot of other people were involved, and the truth didn't quite come out about it.
I think, really and truly, there was so much evidence against them. The twins should have put their hands up and said, look, we'll take it, because they was offered the deal that you take it, like you put your hands up to it, and all the rest can walk.
All of a sudden, you've got their own cousin, Ronnie Hart, done the right grassing anyway. He's told them exactly what's happened, and about half a dozen more of the so-called heavyweights on the firm have all grasped one another and grasped the twins.
When each of them was arrested, I interviewed them and said, look, this is your one opportunity. You will never get another. I'm telling you now that I'm going to charge the Crays with murder, and there may be other cases as well. You've now got the opportunity, if you choose, to come on the side of law and order, to make a statement to me and tell me all you know about the Crays, and this is the only opportunity you'll get.
I pleaded guilty because I had no chance. The charge was harbouring Frank Mitchell, and I told him never read what it was all about. And then he said, can you tell me about the Cornell? I said, yeah.
And Ronnie said, we got Scotch Jack's going to take Cornell's murder. Ronnie Hart is going to take Jack the Hat, and we want you to take Frank Mitchell. So I thought about it just for a few seconds, and I said, no, I ain't having that.
Of course, you can't ask a man to do that. What right sane man's got to say, yeah, I'll put my hands up to a murder and get a life sentence for something I've not committed. I mean, it's ridiculous to even think it, you know. Of course, he had to roll over.
The loyalty of all the other gang members is something that's quite remarkable. They did not want to dissociate themselves with the Crays and in that way appear unloyal, because this was the structure. This was the society.
We're loyal to the culture. We're loyal to the friends that we've always known, the people we drink with, the people we eat with, the people we piss and shit with. You understand? Not the Crays.
I put them before my own family. You know, Chris just had to go along with it, whether he likes it or not. That was his chosen path. I went down that road, and there was no going back.
They didn't have to go down. They could have done what Albert done and what I done. They thought, well, the twins will get us off with this. They've got good lawyers, good barristers, plenty of money about for them. God knows what they paid. The rest of them had to get legal aid.
Did your counsel ever suggest diminished responsibility?
They done it indirectly. The message did come down the line if I wanted diminished responsibility. But of course it would have been guilty to go with it first and do it afterwards. Mm.
And you didn't want that?
No.
Mm. Why?
Because there was nothing there. I think they just wanted me guilty. Mm. And morally, for me it wasn't right morally. I couldn't go against my brother, so that was it.
So you think that if you'd have taken their offer, they then would have wanted you to damage Ronnie's case?
I'm sure that would have been the case, yeah. Mm.
No, diminished responsibility does not apply to someone who said I never did it. It's as long as say there's an alibi and self-defense. You can't have both. If he said, yes, I did it, then we look into what the state of his mind was at the time. But he always denied he did any of the offences.
Mr. Foreman, I want you to ask me simply by saying yes or no. Have you all reached a verdict in the case of Ronald Cray in the first indictment? Yes. Have you reached a second indictment? Yes. And then went back to say, and then how do you find Roger? And he said, guilty. And then he said, guilty. And I was looking down like this, and I couldn't look up. My eyes were full of tears. It was a bit of a, you know, all the work that we'd done was justified.
Ronnie Cray, 30 years. Ian Barry, 20 years. Ronnie Bender, 20 years. Reggie Cray, 30 years. Charles Cray, 10 years. Tony Barry, acquitted being under duress. Chris Lambriano, 15 years. Freddie Foreman, 10 years. Tony Lambriano, 15 years. Connie Whitehead, 7 years.
Well, the judge was so carried away by the duty he felt he had to put down the whole tribe that he dished out to the lesser members as well. I never thought that Milford would swing with such violence.
I wasn't surprised at the sentences in any way. A gang of people that had ruled the East End of London by a regime of terror and fear, had killed people coldly analytically, motivelessly, in full view of other people, simply because they wanted to exercise their authority as gang leaders.
How old are you now?
66.
And how long have you been in prison?
Just over 33 years.
33 years. So you've spent literally half your life in prison.
Reggie would have been in a place like this. This is a cell, it's not wide and it's not long. And you never felt the cold until you've been in somewhere like this. He might have had a few photographs and pictures on the wall, a bed there, maybe he'd been allowed a bed cover and a radio, and that would have been his total existence.
Day to day, that's how you live it. That's how you live it. You survive it. You come out of it. But you can never forget it.
I've seen a man killed over a small transistor radio. Man walked by me and said, "Good morning, Chris," and walked in the cell and murdered a man with a homemade knife in cold blood over a small transistor radio. What price life?
I had a certain amount of trouble there, and over the years I've done a certain amount of cons, inmates, for different reasons. So I had sold some of the records, done about 6 screws.
He had his fights with the screws when they first went away. He tried to kill himself. No one said about that, but he tried to kill himself because he was sick of the life he had in there.
Yeah, I can't be missed in Long Larn prison on 2 occasions, one twice in Parkhurst. I think it was a severe depression at the time. I think I was on some medication, and its side effects, I believe they've done it, side effects of the medication. Valium.
I don't think he meant to top himself. I think it was a cry, a terrible cry. Help me.
A man who does more than 10 years is changed for the worse, forever, I believe. An ordinary man of ordinary capacity, I think, is ruined by it. You've got to have some spark of genius, or maybe a political ideal.
Everyone sees it more than reasonable. If I'd have been out 15 years ago, at least the most, you see. But why I never, I can't explain.
If Reggie Kray had expressed complete remorse some years ago when his 30 years was up, then the probability is that he would have been allowed out.
I think it was everything, the books and the films and everything that had gone on around. And I do believe that when they sentenced Reg and Ron, and they sent them to prison, and they locked the doors, and they believed that they had well and truly thrown away the key, and that the next step would simply be obscurity. And in fact, the exact opposite happened. And the media interest grew, and the public fascination grew. And the Home Office found itself 27 years down the road with 2 men who had become incredibly famous.
The idea of somebody who's in prison becoming the subject matter of a film is deeply unpopular. I think it's felt that somehow, even if it isn't financially, they will benefit. And benefit by the fame, if that is a benefit, by the notoriety. The last thing that anybody in prison needs is a high profile. And they were, to a certain extent, author of their own misfortunes.
So got a certain amount of writing ability, which I think my mother's passed down to me. She wasn't a writer herself. She's got great common sense in there, but I seem to get these inspirational flashes, and I think it's passed down from my mother. I can't see it being coming from anyone else.
Among his writings were certain revelations that were not popular with other members of the firm, who were still serving long prison sentences.
4 or 5 years later, he admits it. I done that for him. What good was that to me, or any of the other defendants, any of us? Nothing. Yeah, I was disillusioned with it. Pig sick about it. There I am sitting the nick for something that he couldn't admit before, and a couple of years later he comes out of it. Did we all go down for him to write a book?
Ronnie Craig wanted a traditional East End funeral, and his family made sure his wishes were respected down to the last detail. Among the masses of flowers was a tribute from Reggie, which read, "To the other half of me."
And then came the message from Reg. My brother Ron is now free and at peace. Ron had great humour, a vicious temper, was kind and generous. He did it all his way, but above all, he was a man. And that's how I'll always remember my twin brother, Ron. God bless Reg Cray.
Yeah, I used to get pre-warnings type thing. If I felt that he wasn't right in himself, I get a kind of instinct about it, and I knew he was always right. We had a form of communication. It's very difficult. I still got it, in fact. My back area feels very burning in a nice way. A nice, warm, glowing feeling. And I think that's Ron's presence. I've not had it since I was in Maidstone. It's been back the last few days.
Do you think you were dominated by Ronnie?
Well, I suppose there's a possibility. I allowed him to dominate me to a point. I think it's some silly thing I made, just let there be peace, you see. Yeah.
I don't doubt that there was a big space in Reggie's life and a terrible emptiness. And I can't say I went in and filled that, because you can't replace someone else, you can't take the place of them, but you can just help to ease that pain and to give someone some love. And if they can give you some love back as well, then you have achieved something.
I think Rob's influence is very great on me, you know. She's got a great influence on me, without being stern, without any influence coming across. It's there. You know, I would never be dominated by any woman or anyone else. But she's got a great influence over me, and we get on well together.
Reg proposed to me. Over the phone, I might add. And so I asked him if he was down on one knee, and he said he definitely was.
I just wish I'd have met Rob about 20 years earlier, eh? I don't think I'd have had any problems then, eh? I think everything would have worked out okay.
They originally refused to let us have any photos taken of our wedding at all, and it took a lot of persuasion before they finally agreed. But only on the condition that a prison officer took the photographs and that they held on to the negatives afterwards. About a month after the wedding, they took us into a small room when I was on a visit. They had the photographs laid out on a table, so 60, 70 photos, and they told us we could choose 10 of those pictures. It was 15 months before I finally got the set of 10 pictures. All these photographs are obviously Crown copyrighted. We weren't allowed to use them. The 10 I received I wasn't allowed to reproduce in any way. They belonged to the Crown.
That's why. They're Crown copyright, aren't
That's what we were told.
they? Yeah. Pretty we couldn't do anything with it, isn't it? Eh?
I don't think I'd have married Reg if I'd believed that he was never coming out of prison, because I think it would have been a meaningless gesture. And when I did marry him, it was firstly a commitment to him to say I love you, but secondly to say I believe in you and I believe that one day you are coming out of prison. And yes, you hope that it will help, that he will be coming out to a stable home, a stable place to live, and all those factors will help in the parole board's decision.
Do you think the Home Office reacted against giving you parole because they thought maybe there had been other killings?
I'm sure this was part of their reasoning for not giving me parole. There's one feature of it anyway.
Were there any other killings?
One. Right.
There's rumours. I think Nipper Reid would be able to tell you the answer to that.
I would imagine that would be Teddy Smith. Teddy Smith was a homosexual friend of Ronnie's, and Smith suddenly disappeared.
He showed up in the Regency, drunk as a skunk, shouting about Mitchell. We got him in the car, taking him round to the Twins' house, and he said, "Stop the car, I want to take a leak." So he goes behind the house or something, and that's it. Never see him again.
You know, he's a frequenter. He was there every day, and then suddenly he just went off. And we made all kinds of inquiries, and people said, "Well, don't know what happened to Smithy."
The vice the Twins had, Reggie and all at times, was boys. That was their vice.
Of course, we knew Ronnie was, you know, fancied boys. We knew that from the days of the early days when he told Charlie. He said, "Well, be quiet, this Charlie." He said, "You might as well know it." He said, "I'm bisexual." Well, Charlie was dumbstruck, you know. He looked at him, he went, "What? I can't believe you, mate." He said, "Well, you like men as well as women?" He went, "Yes," he said. He said, "If Mother can cope with it, she knows, so can you." And he walked away. And that was the statement when he first admitted openly, I'm bisexual and I'm proud of it, so I don't care who knows.
And Reggie was also bisexual. Being gay then wasn't like being gay now. It was sort of all have to be hid under the carpet type of thing.
We was at a party one night in East End, and I went looking for my mate, Harry Abrams, and he was with this girl. Anyway, I went in the wrong room. I opened the wrong door, and there was Reggie giving the young boy one. I thought, God, and he come out, got hold of me, Reggie outside. He said, "You're dead." He said, "Don't you breathe a fucking word of this." He said, "You're dead."
I think they being their macho image they had, they would like, to me, they wouldn't show that side of their nature or their character. They didn't want me to see that. I never suspected Reggie. I thought Reggie's always been a straight guy, you know.
I never had a problem with it at all. I didn't say that it diminished his love for me in any way. But he could fall in love with a man, he could fall in love with a woman. And we had fallen in love. I was aware that he was bisexual, and I accepted it. I was also very aware that, having been in prison for, by then, 27, 28 years, but he had spent that time surrounded by men where the only possibility of any kind of relationship, emotional, sexual, whatever it might be, it was always going to be with another man.
I think he fought it in the beginning. I think it came out when he was in prison more than anything else. He certainly liked the company of women, and he was debonair, and I'm sure there's quite a few young ladies who've been to bed with Reggie, I can guarantee that.
We weren't able to consummate the marriage while he was in prison, obviously, but later we were.
You used to train a lot in the prison. Did you stop that regime as a result of feeling ill?
Yes, I stopped training hard. When I got to Wayland, I still used to go to the gym, but I lost the incentive I had, not because I didn't want to do it, but because of the stomach problems. So I still trained over that period of 3 years, but it started to decrease then. I still think it's the best thing to do in prison. I can't keep talking about prison, can I?
Reg was ill for a number of years, probably starting at Maidstone, continuing at Wayland, getting progressively worse through his 3 years at Wayland until the final year when he was in almost continual pain and discomfort.
Over that period of years, did you feel you had something seriously wrong with you?
I definitely did, and I told him this. I definitely did. I knew there was something seriously wrong. It couldn't be otherwise. I was going to the toilet so many times a day, it was physically impossible, almost. And when I told them this, they didn't seem to, it didn't have any bearing on it.
I said to him, "You don't look too clever." But I shouldn't have said that to him. I should have said, oh, you're looking all right. You know what I mean? But you don't think. You just say what's on your mind. And he didn't look clever at all. He looked very ill. And he was. He had cancer.
Do you feel that death is the only way they would release you? Do you feel they wanted to keep you in there forever?
I think the way I was released wasn't satisfactory to them, but it's helped to resolve a very bad embarrassment on their part. So that's the best they got a good deal really. They got a good deal. They found a way out, but I still fell in front of them.
It was a huge event for him to get his freedom. He'd waited 32 years for that, and he was tremendously happy, he was tremendously elated. But at the same time, the downside for it was that it was almost like a confirmation of the fact that he was dying.
You don't see it at the time, because I was a wife and a young child, and I was a son born when I was on remand. I was never to see him until he was 16 years of age when I come out. I had a daughter who was nearly 6 and was 22, nearly 23 when I come out of the nick. The marriage was over. My father became an old man, never knowing really what had happened. You know, and the tragedy and heartache they're left for all their families. What good came out? Where was the glamour and all that? There was nothing glamorous about it.
We lost everything, really. We'd given everything up for them. Our future, our lives.
Our club got ruined after the trial. Within a matter of about months, the police revoked the licence and put us out of business.
It's like the association, the smear it rubbed off on us, you understand? 1970, that was it, it was all over.
It's really a Cockney tragedy. It's a very, very sad, god-awful story. The idea of it actually encouraging anyone, or anyone wanted to be like the Crays, is another part of the sadness, because it's something sad in our own society, which makes heroes of people like this.
What better message can you put out to the would-be gangsters of today, or the criminals coming up? These are the heroes you look up to the youth, and say, well, look what happened to them. The 3 of them have all died in prison.
I find it hard to believe they're all gone, sitting here today. But it seems to me that that's the way it had to be, one or the other. It was a warning that if you do this, or you do that, this is what could happen to you. And I think that was the message left here over the years.
Prison life is a waste of time. I get letters from all over the country. These kids write to me, and I advise them. It's very difficult when kids have got nothing to do and they've got no money and they've got all kinds of social problems out there, so it's easier to say than it is done. But speaking from my heart to them, I'd like to see them stay in prison. But whether they can do so, I don't know. Some will make it and some won't.